And just the youth with Ethan Boyd and Ashton Lefo, I think those two were the tackles in the last two series, just kind of how you've seen those guys progress and taking over larger roles.
Yeah, Ethan Boyd's been playing quite a bit the last 3 games, and he struggled with his technique early in this past game, and got him out of there, kind of just talked through it, got him a chance to collect his head, and then to his credit, in the second half, he played the whole second half clean, did a nice job, and Lepo's been progressing in practice, and I wanted to get him in the game and get him in early, which we were able to do. He did a nice job in there. A couple mistakes that he makes as a young guy, but he did a nice job, so it's really good to see the development of those young guys for sure.
How far has Ethan Boyd come just from when he first came in to now?
I mean, he's made some really good strides, and with his body, his football IQ, he's still, when he's confident, and does the things he's supposed to do, he does a really good job. He's a very good player. When he doubts himself, gets a little panicky, then he gets himself in trouble. And so those are things that come with experience and maturity. And I think he's made some really good strides, and really excited to see what is ahead for him in the future.
As a coach, how do you instill that confidence in a young player?
Well, it's in practice, trying to develop good habits. And then every time he does something well, being able to see it, point it out, talk through it. So that was my message to him. When I took him out, it wasn't about yelling or screaming. It was just talking about go back to your fundamentals and technique. What happened? How do we fix it? And I said, every time you did things the right way there, you shut them down. So believe in yourself and understand that. And he did, and that's what he did. He went out there second half, did a good job with that.
Do you have any idea on Brandon, how far it might take him to go? And I guess on the other piece of that, Spencer kind of flipping back and forth between both tackle spots.
Right, so Brandon he's practicing this week, so we'll see where that goes. I felt like going into the game, I felt better about putting Spencer at left and Boyd at right because they had the most experience. And Spencer's been getting reps on the left side all year, and so I felt good about that. And then, like I said, I wanted to get Lepo in there, but I'm anxious to see how Baldwin comes along this week. I'm encouraged by what he did today, so we'll see what happens.
Did Keyshawn give you any indication when he was leaving? Was it just because the portal was open?
Yes, Keyshawn and I have a great relationship. When he got here, he was not healthy. And he battled through that. Summer, he had an accident, and he missed 4 weeks. So he was kind of behind a little bit starting fall camp, and as you saw each game, he started progressing. And then he rolled his ankle, I believe, in the Maryland game. And, it's a unique time in what's going on in our program. He still has a red shirt, and we talked about it. And once we got to where he's played 4 games, just discussing what was best. Be honest with you, it was best for him. I could have used him this year. He'd be playing for us, but I felt like the kids that I have can get good reps, and probably for him personally, it was better for him to redshirt. And so that was the decision we made. And the portal part of it, my thing was I would have preferred he stayed and just kept practicing and training and getting better. People from his family were nervous that if he got hurt, then what would that mean for him after the season, things like that. So that's how that went, but open communication the whole time. Sometimes you got to make tough decisions as a coach, what's best for the team and what's best for individuals, and that's where we went.
Chris, it seems like Nick and JD have been key guys in terms of keeping the whole program together as their position coach. What's that been like to see them do that this year since everything is?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to find 2 better just human beings, work ethic, high care factor, love their teammates, love the program, and through this tough stretch we had, it's not about me. It breaks my heart to see those guys not reap the benefits that they deserve, and it was great for them to get that win in the stadium their last time because they deserve that, and they've been just steady, strong, and doing things the right way, this whole season, and that's what they've been the whole time, and I got a tremendous relationship with those kids, and you know, we'll have a relationship to my last days on this earth because of the kind of human beings they are, and they've been just great for this team. That's why they're both captains.
Since you got here in 2020, how much has this program's mission been trying to close the gap with Ohio State?
Well, you know, we've always been trying to recruit against the best and recruit the best players. You know, that's always been our mission, and since we've been here, and you know, it's recruiting's like everything else, right? It's just a battle. You win some, you lose some. I think, you know, I can speak for my room. I feel like every year I've been able to bring in at least one or two guys that are really high level guys that you know have a chance to make an impact, and you've also brought some kids that, you know, give them a year or two to develop and they're gonna be really good players. And you know, that's the balance you have to have. It's a different world with the NILs and the portals and everything else. And you know, in my room, it's been pretty strong as far as the guys all wanting to be here. You know, not just jump. You know, could have had any of them jump in the portal and they didn't. And so it's but recruiting. You know, my thing is what do I see on evaluation? I could care less who's recruiting them, and we got to go after them and try to get the best players that we think can help us here.
How much do you feel like have you made any progress, do you think, towards that? I mean, obviously the results on the field would
Sure.
suggest not, but I mean, like how much do you feel like you
I think there's been some good strides there. You know, I like when you look at like some young kids, like Stanton Ramil's going to be a really good football player. You know, it's unfortunate he got hurt in camp, but he's a high level guy. You know, I thought Keyshawn could be a high level guy. You see guys like, you know, Gino improving. Kevin Wigginton has come a long way. I think you see the progress of Boyd and Lepo. I think those guys can play at a high level. So I feel good about the potential in this room, and you know, felt really good about the guys we're recruiting for this next class. We'll see how that goes, you know, but I do think we're making strides. You know, we're not there yet, but we got some really good football players in that room.
You know, you guys, obviously Michigan kids, obviously have the Michigan game, but particularly with JD and Nick, is this one more important for them? Do you feel like a different energy from them going back to Ohio?
You know, it's you would think so, but I don't really. They're not like, they don't get like, you don't feel this like, you know, like they're really up for this game. I feel like they just prepare the same every week. You know, I'm sure deep down, you know, being Ohio kids, there'd be nothing greater than go up there and get a win. But they don't really, they're just, you know, there's no rise to the occasion and this and that. I mean, they're just steady in their preparation. So you wouldn't know it outwardly. I bet if I sat them down and, you know, put a lie detector, it would probably mean a little bit more, right? But you don't see that outwardly.
With Ohio State, they kind of different look this year, and no Heisman quarterback, and it seems like their defense is leading them. Because what have you seen in their ability to be one of the, you know, better defensive teams in the country statistically, and the challenge that it'll be to move the ball against them Saturday?
Yeah, that's the great challenge of being in the Big Ten when you look at, you know, the defenses in this league and what they've done, and they've got really good players at every spot. You know, there's no weakness there. You can see they're getting more comfortable in the scheme. They may be even doing less this year than they did last year, and just letting their athletes make plays. And you know, they're a really good football team. They're sound in what they do. They create enough chaos to put you on your toes sometimes. But it's you have to be really sound in what you're doing and have a good plan. And you got to execute at a high level to get a chance to move the ball against these guys and get some points on the board.
And with some injuries and other things, you know, the backfield's been pretty short-handed. You guys have had to rely heavily on Nathan. I guess what's the challenge been when you really mostly have only one running back going through Big Ten play and the bulk of the carries?
Yeah, you know, it's tough on him because, you know, you get beat up, you know, going through and not getting a lot of rest in a game, or getting somebody to fill in for you. And then in practice, you're trying to pick and choose what he can and can't do so we can get him to Saturday. So it is challenging. You know, he's done a nice job of working hard and finding a way to get it done. You know, he's not 100% right now, but he's fighting through it. You know, but that's kind of our roster right now. You know, I think I looked through and I think we got somewhere in the mid-20s of guys that were on our opening day roster going into camp. There's scholarship guys that are no longer with us for different reasons. And I think I counted like 15 to 17 guys that would have been in and out of our 2 deep. So we've had a lot of guys have to step up, and a lot of guys got to take a lot of reps because there's nobody behind them. And it's just the situation we're in.
you've had your success against Michigan. Why didn't you think it has translated, I guess, to Ohio State where the gap has been?
It's a good question. You know, I don't say this, like, I feel like our kids, since I've been here, have believed they can beat the school down the road when we play them. Like, there's no doubt in their mind. I feel like we've played a team in Columbus. I don't know if everybody, like, believed, you know what I'm saying? Like, they went in and they had to see it happen. I just felt like there was a difference there. And sometimes, you know, it's like anything else. You got to knock those guys off to believe you can get it done. And it hasn't happened for us since we've been here. We got another opportunity on Saturday, and we'll see what happens.
For an offense, kind of a bigger picture thing. If a defense knows what you're gonna do, how much does that disrupt things?
I'll be honest, anybody that's coaching football that says that the other team knows what you're doing is not an advantage, I got to check them. That's not true. You know, I've been part of programs where we have guys, you know, trying to steal signals from the sideline during the game. You know, everybody's listening, you know, what the other team's saying. Because why is everybody doing that? Because it's an advantage, right? And, you know, even for an offense, if you even know the coverage, if you know what blitz is coming, you should have a plan to how to react to that, and you can put them in a vulnerable situation. And it works both ways. So everybody wouldn't be trying to hide signals if it wasn't a big deal if the other team knew what you were doing. Let's just put it that way. That's pretty common sense.
And this is a different question. This is just the nature of not just the science of it, but just the football nature. Because you see coaches cover their mouth too. Did teams have lip readers?
Oh, I think you got everything. You got guys, you know, a lot of people watch the TV copy because it shows the sideline a little bit more. You know, I think most people will try to in-game see if they can get an advantage, and that's usually where it stays with most people.
Would you like to see the coach to quarterback communication just to kind of wipe that out?
Absolutely. I think it'd be great. You know, it's you know, when you watch college games, it's quite the show on the sideline with everybody from all the different boards to the curtains to guys standing around holding towels, whatever it is, right? So it would be great if you could just get rid of that and let's just all play football the way it's meant to be played and let the best team execute and win.
You think it'll go back to huddle football? Because this never existed. It was guys running plays in, running plays
Right.
out.
You know, I think some teams will have to, like, we mix it up, and I think a lot of teams do, and I think some teams, you know, that are only no huddle may go to some huddle, you know, and, you know, the thing about it, in the offensive world, if you're going at a normal pace, you know, and you can have the quarterback just talking in a huddle, and you don't have to worry about anybody knowing what you're doing. If you're going at a fast tempo, you don't mind signaling that because they don't have time to react to it and make a call, right? So, I do think that would increase maybe some huddle time for some teams for sure.
When Sam's in there, does that change any of the teaching points? Just with his ability to move and create and extend and go off script a little bit, how does that change the job sometimes for your guys, if at all?
You can't, you know, predict or prepare for that, so you just have to protect and you know, when he sees an opening, he takes it, right? You know, obviously if you have design quarterback runs, it's a different deal, but just in the protection world, you know, you just got to understand, you got to do your job, and he's got to understand where he can fit. You know, young guys always want to move outside. Sometimes that gets themselves in trouble, you know, but he's done a pretty good job of trying to stay in the pocket. So you really can't prepare for that. You may do some things for those guys like to run to help design some things for him, but when it's just, you know, you're calling a drop back, you just got to protect and hope he gets where he's supposed to be.
You know, kind of along the lines with the huddle, no huddle, hurry up. What have you seen from the changes to the clock in terms of, because I mean, time of possession isn't necessarily the same as it used to be when things were running like that. I guess from an offensive line standpoint, even that's usually one of those stats that you guys can rely on. But how has that changed things?
It's probably changed less than I thought going in. You don't notice it as much as I thought we would, you know. You know, maybe you notice it's the second half, you're down by a couple scores, and you know, you get that first down, you're hoping, you wish the old rule was in play where you could stop the clock, but for the most part, you really just don't notice it, you know, until it's a situation where you're trying to play catch up, I think, you know, so we probably, you know, you see teams having less reps, but I think it's like 5 to 7 plays, not like 15 or 20 for the most part. But you also see some teams, you know, some teams are milking the clock and waiting to the last second, then it makes a dramatic change, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of it depends on who you're playing as well.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.